Hello, this is Jaime here, and the original purpose of this video was to you know debunk or like criticize like material on YouTube that is ex-Mormon, right? But I have decided that I am not going to do that with this video after all, because I don't think it is appropriate for me to be doing that. First of all, because I am not a member of the Mormon Church. I'll show you something right now about my relationship with the Mormon Church. Right. I'm going to discuss something about it. But at present, I am not really like a member or like anything, officially involved with the Mormon Church. So I don't think it would be appropriate for me to come up here and like, debunk ex-Mormon material, like a random or whatever. I'm not authorized to do that. I don't think. And you know what? The Mormons do not need me to defend them because they've done that by themselves. In the channel Saints Unscripted, which the playlist on this channel called The Mormon Perspective are videos from the Saints Unscripted YouTube channel, which is a Mormon channel, an independent Mormon channel run by Mormon youth, right? And in there, they cover all sorts of topics relevant to Mormonism. And one of the topics that they cover is the Latter-day Saint religion a cult? And that is a specific video that they have there. And I have that video on the playlist, okay? So if you want to hear the Mormon reply to allegations that it is a cult, you can go ahead and look at that video and get a Mormon perspective about it, okay? About that topic. Personally, I don't believe the Mormons are a cult because I contrast the Mormon Church with the Jehovah's Witnesses, okay, who are a cult. For example, the Mormon Church respects Article 18 of the Declaration of Human Rights. In other words, people who are Mormon are free to leave, and there is no punishment for it. The Mormons do not practice shunning. They don't shun people who leave, as is the case with Jehovah's Witnesses. I mean, you will not be shunned and driven to suicide because you choose to leave the Mormon religion. It's not at all. And I put this across to the Mormon missionaries that I meet with, because I have a relationship with the Mormon missionaries, and this is approved by the Mormon bishop. I made a phone call to the Mormon bishop and asked for permission to do this. The Mormon missionaries are teaching me theology. They're teaching me I told him I want to know everything about the Book of Mormon and the theology derived from it, and how it relates to other aspects of Mormon belief. So we started out with the list of articles of faith, I think they call it, where they list the different beliefs of the Mormons, the basic beliefs, and how that correlates with the Book of Mormon and whatever. So that was the beginning of our exploration of Mormon theology, was correlating the Book of Mormon to this list of beliefs in the that they have, and got everything right here. Right, 13 articles of faith, right? And right, the 13 articles of faith, right? So how we started studying the Mormon theology with the Mormon missionaries is that we went through like which one of the 13 Mormon articles of faith, and then they explained to me what those articles of faith meant, and in light of the Book of Mormon, right? And they plugged in the Book of Mormon into the whole conversation. That's how we started. We've also discussed the Mormon version of the fall of Adam, the Mormon conception of the Trinity, the Mormon Christology, which is a particular type of Christology. It is not exactly nice. It is neither. It is actually a fifth position, because in the Christological spectrum you have Docetae, Nestorian, Niceno-Constantinopolitan, and Arian, and I would say that the Mormon is a fifth Christology, because they have their own perspective on the nature of Christ. You know, and I told the Mormon missionaries I am partial towards Arianism. You know, I believe that, you know, on this one I kind of agree with Charles Taze Russell, you know, about, you know, a basic tenet of the teachings of Charles Taze Russell is that, you know, God, Jesus is not God. Jesus is just the Son of God. So I agree with Charles Taze Russell, but I also look at the Mormon Christology now, and right, I'm not, well, I don't know, I'm not entirely sure that Arianism and Mormonism Christologies are fully compatible, but I keep both in mind. You know. But yeah, you know, the article of faith that was really interesting to me is the second one. We believe that men will be punished for their own sins and not for Adam's transgression, right? So basically, the Mormons don't really believe in the doctrine of original sin, which is great, you know, because I don't either. Not really, not this side of leaving the Jehovah's Witnesses. And I am still a PIMO. I'm part of the PIMO underground inside Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm part of the ex-gay PIMO underground inside Jehovah's Witnesses at this point. I have not left yet. The moment is coming, though. The moment of the end is coming. So I'm hurrying up with these videos because I know the end is coming soon, but it hasn't come yet. I'm still in the matrix. But anyhow, as I was saying, yeah, I'm not sure you could reconcile Mormon Christology with Arianism, but I don't know. Charles Taze Russell and Joseph Smith had different conceptions of Christology, but I keep both in mind. And anyways, yeah, I mean, the Mormons don't believe in original sin, which is great. Basically, the Mormons are taking a sort of a position similar to Pelagius, you know, where it was like each person, what is it called? You know, we are free to choose to sin or not to sin, something like that, you know, which is the counterpoint to the doctrine of original sin, which says that we are born inclined to sin. The counterpoint is a conception of sin that is related to agency or free will. So yeah, which is the Pelagian position. I'm not saying the Mormons are Pelagian. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that, you know, this emphasis on men will be punished for their own sins and not for Adam's transgression. You know, so yeah, I agree. I agree with this statement. I agree with that statement 100%. Yeah, I don't believe in original sin. I don't believe in original sin for different reasons. I don't believe in original sin because I don't believe Adam and Eve existed. Okay, that's why I don't believe in original sin. Because, you know, the science of population genetics pretty much debunks the possibility of Adam and Eve existing, and you know, and that's not an opinion. That is not an opinion. I mean, population genetics is established scientific, you know, fact. You know, it's not a truth. It's a fact. So, you know, I'm not, you know, right. I don't believe in original sin because I don't believe in Adam and Eve. I've had this conversation with the Mormon missionaries, and in that context, they explained to me their version of the fall of Adam, which I find very interesting. But we agree that, you know, I'm punished for my own sins and not. I'm not responsible for the sins you know, I'm not responsible for Adam's transgression. Whatever. Okay. Whether Adam existed or not is a separate issue. Whatever. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So there's that issue with the Mormons. Yeah, so yeah, I don't believe the Mormon Church is a cult because it doesn't practice. It respects Article 18 of the Declaration of Human Rights. In fact, I told the Mormon missionaries, what happens when a person leaves? It says nothing. They're free to leave. They have agency. He said, they have agency. We respect agency, and we respect conscience, right? Like apparently in the Mormon church now, they have like emphasized conscience and agency. Yeah, well, in Wikipedia it says this, but I don't know. I don't. In Wikipedia it says that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, in its law of chastity, and the church teaches that has a law of chastity, and the church teaches that God does not approve of same-sex marriage. Adherents who participate in same-sex sexual behavior may face church discipline. That's what it says on Wikipedia. Okay, but then in this Mormon channel that I looked at, you know, it says something else, or suggests something else, and then I'm looking at the Mormon Church website, and it says, what is the Mormon position on homosexuality? You know, the official position of the Mormon Church is that sexual relations are reserved for partners in a heterosexual marriage. Okay, it's the same as the Jehovah's Witnesses or any sort of evangelical right-wing church, or not right-wing church, but like conservative, political, whatever. Um, right. Sexual relations are reserved for partners in a heterosexual marriage. In Mormonism, God's entire plan of happiness for mankind is framed in the context of heterosexual marriage. This means that, by definition, there is no room in the Mormon church for gays and lesbians to be themselves in every way. That's what it says here. Okay, here I found something else. This is interesting. And this is from the Human Rights Campaign. This is from the Human Rights Campaign, which is an LGBT advocacy group. And they say here, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Mormons, is now the fourth largest Christian denomination in the United States and counts over 60 million members worldwide. And and that's factual. The LDS Church follows strict rules of sexual conduct, including commandments against premarital sex. The Church distinguishes between same-sex attraction and behavior. As stated in its website, quote, the experience of same-sex attraction is a complex reality for many people. The attraction itself is not a sin, but acting on it is. Okay, so the attraction is in itself is not a sin, but acting on it is. Okay, it's the same position as the Jehovah's Witnesses, basically. That desire is not the issue, or biology is not the issue. The issue is that the Bible says you're not supposed to partake in homosexual activity, and by homosexual activity, I think they mean sex, right? Homosexual activity does not necessarily mean sex. It could mean other things. But the Jehovah's Witnesses, I think they mean sexual activity, and the Mormons too. Okay. Yeah. And the LDS Church previously thought that same-sex attraction is a curable condition, but now states that individuals do not choose to have such attractions, and that the therapy focusing on a change in sexual orientation is unethical. So the Mormon Church takes a position against conversion therapy. Good, I agree 100%. Thank you. I don't agree, though, that it is. I disagree with the Mormons that it is. Okay, like I said. Okay, my personal position is what I said in that video that I did the exegesis on in the case against homosexuality, as we espoused it when I was in the ex-gay ministry. Okay, and my position is the position that I took as a conclusion of that exegetical exercise was that sodomy, either passive or active sodomy, is not acceptable and to God, and that laying in bed with another man and laying together in bed with a man is not acceptable to God. However, nowhere does the Bible prohibit fellatio, and that's my position, my personal position. Nowhere does the Bible prohibit fellatio. So my position is, as long as the man is standing in front of you, you can engage in oral sex or fellatio with that man, as long as he doesn't lay down in bed with you, and as long as you don't engage in sodomy, either passive or active. That's my position. And I know this position is at odds with the Mormon Church. This is my personal position, my personal view. The Mormon Church here says, that, the attraction itself is not a sin, but acting on it is. I think that by acting on it, they also include fellatio. I don't know. They don't specify that in their website, so I don't know. But yeah. Yeah. Those who do not act on their sexual identity enjoy full fellowship in the church, which includes holding the priesthood, carrying out callings, and attending the temple. Okay, I could never ever do those things because my position disagrees with the official position of the Mormon Church, and maybe whatever. I don't know. It says here fellowship. It says full fellowship in the church. I don't intend to have full fellowship in the church. All I want is to be able to attend a service and sit there and listen or whatever, and maybe hang out afterwards and say hi or whatever, like hang out. And I would like to continue the relationship with the Mormon missionaries, learning the Book of Mormon and Mormon theology. I don't know, but yeah. And I would never ever promote my views on like what is allowed and what is not allowed as far as I believe in the Mormon Church or with the Mormon missionaries or with anybody there. I would never speak about this in the context of that congregation or even with the Mormon missionaries discuss this. Okay, listen to this. The church considers Mormons who act on feelings of same-sex attractions to have disobeyed church teachings on morality and thus are subject to ecclesiastical discipline. They may be 1. Placed on probation for those desiring to change their behavior, or 2. Disfellowshipped, excluded from participating in the sacraments for a finite period of time while they correct their behavior, or 3. Excommunicated. Members who face a disciplinary council and refuse to repent or insist that their feelings are integral to who they are always are excommunicated. So yeah, they lose their membership and cannot participate in any way other than attend meetings. Okay, but at least they let you attend meetings. They let you attend meetings. I don't agree with the theology 100%. I maintain that although I agree with the Mormons that sodomy, either passive or active, is not acceptable, and that laying in bed with a man is prohibited. I still maintain that my exegesis of the theology surrounding the ex-gay ministry concludes that it's okay to engage in fellatio, but that's just me. Okay, but it says here, perhaps I could be disfellowshipped, which means that you're excluded from participating in the sacraments. Yeah. But with excommunication, yeah, you lose your membership and cannot participate in any other way than attend meetings. So look, if it comes to that, if it comes to that all I'm allowed to do is attend meetings, that's fine. That's fine, And obviously, I'm not gonna proselytize my views on or whatever. Not just my views on sexuality, but also not my views on politics. That's another issue. I mean, the majority of Mormons are, conservatives, political conservatives, and whatever. I understand that. I respect that. I mean, in the United States, Mormons are Republicans. I mean, the politics of dissident Marxism are clearly not within the orbit of, the Mormon political predilections or subjectivity or what have you. So even though dissident Marxism is on record as being an anti-Stalinist movement, and whatever, and dissident Marxism has never been in power. So the argument bandied about by conservatives that communism killed millions of people does not apply to dissident Marxism, because dissident Marxism never was in power. In fact, dissident Marxists were hunted down and murdered. Like Leon Trotsky was murdered in Mexico City, and Andreas Nin was murdered in Barcelona by the NKVD. So I mean, dissident Marxists were hunted down, not just by the NKVD, but also by the Gestapo. When in German occupied Europe or whatever, France especially. The Trotskyist underground in France liquidated itself into the French resistance. But then because the Communist Party of France also was liquidated, went underground and joined the resistance, the Stalinists, the people who were supporters of Stalin in the French Communist Party, rejected the Trotskyists and bandied about the idea among the resistance that the Trotskyists were possibly Nazi agents, right? Because they were hostile to Stalin and the Soviet government. So Trotskyists had a hard time during French Trotskyists during the occupation had a very horrible hard time, because they were hunted down by the Gestapo and they were rejected by the communists inside the resistance. So basically the Trotskyists in France were by themselves, but they resisted. They did what they could to do their thing. They did in a way they resisted. I mean, it was mostly about survival for them, but I'm sure they did things here and there to assist their resistance somehow indirectly without the communists knowing about it or whatever. But that's a tangent. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk about it. I'm just saying that like I said in another video, my politics and those of Mitt Romney are probably not the same. But that said, I like the Book of Mormon very much, and I like learning about Mormonism and the Mormon theology and all these things. Tell me, and just so that just so that we're clear, I also have evidence here of my baptism as a Jehovah's Witness. On the 22nd of September 2019, I was baptized as a Jehovah's Witness. Here's the evidence. Here's the pictures. Here's me being baptized. Just like it, and I show this Jehovah's Witness picture because just in case somebody says, that I am faking it here, that I'm not really a Jehovah's Witness or whatever. Yeah, I consider that the Jehovah's Witness Baptist. Actually, I talked to the Bible students about this. And I asked them, if I were to join the Bible students, do I have to, from the Jehovah's Witnesses, do I have to rebaptize again? And the Bible students says no. They said that they recognize the Jehovah's Witness baptism. The Bible students do. So I wouldn't need to baptize again in the event that I were to choose to join the Bible students. But like I said in other videos, I consider that the Mormons and the Bible students are the only true representatives of restorationist Christian primitivism. So, and I am committed to the theology of restorationist Christian primitivism, even though I am moving in a post-Christian direction. I'm still committed to that theology, even though I believe that even though I believe that a creator that does not require existence is greater than a creator that does, and that the true God does not exist. The true God does not exist. The true God is non-existent. I still agree with the goal of Christian primitivist restoration, and I agree that the Book of Mormon is an instrument of restoration. I agree with that. I agree that the Book of Mormon is an instrument of restoration, that it is an effective tool to restore the gospel of the first century congregation, or something, a facsimile of it, because the Book of Mormon is simplified, elegant, concise rendition of the message of Jesus Christ, of the theology of Jesus Christ, the use of the Book of Mormon precludes and makes unnecessary the Bible. The Bible, the Gospels, all that is unnecessary from my perspective. The Mormon missionaries are going to disagree with that. If you talk to Mormon missionaries, they're going to disagree with that. And again, I make the disclaimer: if you want to find out what Mormons believe, ask the Mormon missionaries. Don't listen to me. Listen to the Mormon missionaries, or go to this the YouTube channel that I talked about, Saints Unscripted, and there is a playlist called The Mormon Perspective in this channel, and I selected some videos from that channel there that I think are really interesting and important. Any one of those channels will take you to their, any one of those videos will take you to their channel. So, and once you go into their channel, there's a whole plethora of videos that you can look at. And again, that's an independent Mormon channel, staffed and run by Mormon youth. I don't think it's an official LDS church channel, but it is important to look at it. Okay, that said about the Book of Mormon, and my, how I consider the Book of Mormon to be an effective and useful tool of Christian primitivist restorationism. I want to bring and again, I'm not going to get into the ex-Mormon stuff. I've looked at some of the ex-Mormon videos here on YouTube. I'm sure there is a lot of LGBT people who don't agree with the position of the Mormon Church, that marriage is not allowed, gay marriage is not allowed, and sexual activity is restricted to heterosexual couples. I mean, that's the standard. A standard evangelical position. Whatever. It's nothing. The Mormon position is not anything surprising. I'm not surprised. It's nothing. But the difference is that the Mormons, when you leave, they respect your Article 18 rights to do so. And I asked the Mormon missionaries, what happens when a person leaves? They say they can go. They're free to go. But we check up on them, and that is radically opposite from how Jehovah's Witnesses treat people who are disfellowshipped or who disassociate. Because people who disassociate are to be treated the same as people who are disfellowshipped, and people who are disfellowshipped and disassociated are subjected to shunning, which means that their family and friends have to pretend that they're dead, and that results in a huge trauma that can drive, 65-year-old women with bipolar condition to suicide, or young gay men to suicide. So the shunning policy of Jehovah's Witnesses drives people towards suicide. It is a policy that has a harmful, detrimental impact on human beings, as opposed to the Mormon Church, which respects the rights of the person to disassociate and leave. The Mormon Church is not really a cult. It is not a cult. I don't agree with that idea that the Mormon Church is a cult. And again, yeah, all right, their position on homosexuality is not one that I share. Again, I have a different perspective, because my exegesis of the case against the biblical case against homosexuality is different from theirs. So but yeah, I'm not. Yeah. Anyways, that covers LGBT issues. Look, the one issue that I think is really important, and I'm going to talk about it in part 2 of this video, because this video is already running 32 minutes and I'm going to reach the gigabyte limit. And I think that for what I'm going to talk about, I want to talk about it involves the Book of Mormon and historiographical issues that I think are very important, and more important to talk about than the boilerplate ex-Mormon stuff. Look, if you want to know the reply of the Mormon Church, of the Mormons to charges that the Mormons are a cult, like I said, go into the video that I highlight in the Mormon Perspective playlist. Is the Church of Latter-day Saints a cult? It's right there, and the young people at the what is it called, Saints Unscripted, they reply to that question. I think it's a really good reply, very good, very well done. And then there is also a video which is really interesting. This is a guy who was an ex-Mormon. He